Welcome to Prophecy Views. I'm Brian Barton, and we've got Mike Ray here again today. We wanted to bring up a couple of topics today, and I know it's been a couple of weeks since we've really hit on some solid stuff, but we just kind of wanted to. There's so much going on in the news that by the time we go to sit down and have a discussion about a topic, so much about it has changed. It's really moving quickly. The news cycle seems to be moving at an unprecedented rate right now. A couple of things that we want to bring up real quick. If you would like this article, this cast, and we're going to put it out in a couple of different formats, in podcast form and in video form as well, so you can see it on whatever format's easiest for you. But take a look at our webpage, prophecyviews.com. You can support us on that webpage, and we certainly do need support. The first thing I want to talk about, the big topic going on right now, leading up to the big election, is the Hunter Biden laptop story. Now, we're taking a little bit of a chance bringing up the laptop story, just in the fact that we may get censored in being able to put this out there, but we'll see what happens. And we're going to cover that topic in just a little bit as well. But so we've got this laptop that was dropped off, I believe, in Delaware at a computer repair store. Mm-hmm. And when Hunter Biden did not return to pick it up, I don't think the shop owner realized who it was. I think he probably went on there to see whose laptop it was. It had been over 90 days, so it became property of the shop owner, and he went on and looked at the hard drive and decided to get the FBI involved. Now, I don't want to go real deep into this aspect of it. In fact, I think I'm just going to skip this one part of it. So the FBI got involved because of certain things that were on the laptop on the hard drive, and I don't want to get into the situation involving minors, but I think that was probably why they were initially called. And now that they've scoured the laptop and the emails have come out. So here's my understanding of how this went down. And I don't know if you've kept up with the small details of it, but when the owner of the repair shop realized what he had, and he contacted the FBI, before they came and picked up the laptop, he made 4 copies of the hard drive. Mm-hmm. 2 copies he gave to friends and said, if anything happens to me, if I'm killed, this needs to get out. Yeah. So he did it to protect, I guess, the story, not necessarily protecting himself, because that's no guarantee of anything. But the 3rd copy he gave to Rudy Giuliani's attorney, yes, who in essence has let Rudy Giuliani see it. Now, a lot of people remember that Rudy Giuliani used to be the mayor of New York, but prior to that, he was a federal prosecutor. Mm-hmm. In the federal system. Yes. And from what I understand, a very, very good one. Yeah. So Rudy Giuliani has seen a lot in his day. I'm not too sure, but what he was the prosecutor that prosecuted Whitey Bulger, but I'm not sure that I'm right about that.
I'm not sure either.
But he prosecuted a lot of mafia people, and he has been threatened. He's seen just a lot of stuff in his time. Mm-hmm. And he said this was a pretty bad, these images on here were pretty bad. But it was also given to him because it had a lot of information with the Biden family and how they are connected and getting money from Ukraine, Russia, China, and how they're tied into that. What do you have to add on that?
The thing is, if you look into their family, they came in like with a minimal amount of money, average amount of money, maybe $300,000 in the bank account. Now all of it's up into like 30 and 40 million, and in a short period of time. Where did that money come from? I'm pretty sure that it has come from their investments in these manipulations of government. it shows a tremendous amount of information about illegal transcripts that Giuliani is trying to bring out through his lawyer, that shows that these are not just little itty bitty crimes. Some of this is treason.
Yeah, that's
and
right.
Federal violations.
Yeah.
Federal laws that have transpired and this is speaking under their own words. This is speaking under Hunter. This is what Hunter is saying about his father, and talking about how his father was taking money from his relatives, and for whatever amount of profit they make, they had to pay him a percentage. This is bad. What bothers me is that of all of the Democrats in the United States that are pretty good Democrats, they picked Joe Biden.
Right. And
wow.
And I think Trump is right, potentially anyways, as saying that Joe Biden is probably the worst candidate in
American
history. And the funny thing is it makes you wonder. It's just another angle that makes you wonder about the credibility of the polls that we're seeing.
Yeah.
You never see Hunter Biden out campaigning in front of more than 20 people.
Mm-hmm.
When he's out, and that's rare.
And Trump's thousands.
And again, I'm not telling anybody how to vote. That's not my point. I'm just trying to lay it out there. Now, the first thing that Adam Schiff and the Democrats started coming out and laying down some cover fire for Joe Biden was that this laptop story is Russian disinformation, that the Russians have put this out there. And Adam Schiff is chairman of the Intelligence Committee on the House. Mm-hmm. Now, Adam Schiff does not get any intelligence information, but what it comes from a gentleman by the name of John Ratcliffe. And yes. He is the director of national intelligence.
Yes. And
John Ratcliffe has a little quote. He was on Maria Bartiromo's show not too long ago, and I'm not sure if that's where this quote came from, but he said this: "Let me be clear. The intelligence community doesn't believe that because there is no intelligence that supports that, as far as the Russian information, and we have shared no intelligence with Adam Schiff or any member of Congress." So if any member of Congress, we're off the quote now, this is me, but if any member of Congress says they have seen intelligence, they are lying. This specifically says not just the House, it's the House and the Senate. He says, we have shared no intelligence with Adam Schiff or any member of Congress.
Yeah. I tell you, the news media has got to start being careful, because if they keep going in the direction they're going, there's what I call cause and effect. For every action, there's an equal opposite reaction. If the news media keeps putting out lies and disinformation that cannot be proven, there's going to be a backlash. And it could be a legal backlash that hurts everybody.
Well, that's true. That's true. Now, so the FBI has the laptop, and the FBI was then questioned as to what if they wanted to add anything to what John Radcliffe says. And the only quote the FBI would put out there for the press was, the FBI says they have nothing to add to D&I Ratcliffe's assessment on Hunter Biden laptop emails. So they're saying we have nothing to add, which to me is almost a verification that that's true. We have nothing to add. We're not going to say it's wrong either.
But they are verifying one thing. They have a Biden laptop.
Yes.
And that is what they said. But here's the thing. When somebody starts to speak in this language, you got to read between the lines. It's not what they said. It's what they didn't say. They're taking this hard drive, and they have got experts on this out the wazoo. They are going over this hard drive with a fine-tooth comb. they're going to know everything about it.
Yeah, that's right. And from what I understand, you've probably heard this as well, I believe there's going to be a continual slow drip of information from this topic all the way through the election about what's on the laptop,
Right.
And just discoveries about that type of situation.
The thing is, I don't think they're going to do anything until after the election, period.
Oh, I don't believe they'll do anything criminally speaking or whatever, but I think information is going to continually come out. In fact, I think they're talking about having some bombshell information coming out today, and I probably need to find out what that was. Yeah. Giuliani was going to release some information. Yeah. The offshoot of this story is that the New York Post broke this story. Now, they are one of the largest newspapers in the country, circulation-wise.
I think it's the first.
It was one of the first newspapers it's the oldest newspaper in the country.
There you go.
Not the first, but it's the oldest newspaper in the country, started by, if I said John Adams, I'm not sure that I'm right about that. I was looking at that the other day, and at my age, names escape me, but it was started by one of our founding fathers of the country.
Yes.
They broke the story. They put it out on Twitter and Facebook, and was immediately, in fact, the last I heard, now this was several days ago, they are still not back on Twitter because they will not delete that story off their Twitter feed.
Yeah.
So they have been shut off of Twitter. Facebook has shut them down.
Yeah.
I had a guy that I follow, for those of you that want to check him out, it's the Next News Network, and a gentleman by the name of Gary Franchi. He's pretty good about staying on top of news stuff. Well, he got the exclusive interview with the reporter that was breaking the story. Mm-hmm. And when he broke his story, the interview with her, in my mind, I said, there's no way social media is going to let this stay on. Yeah. And so I downloaded that interview onto my computer for a hard copy of it. Mm-hmm. And I have it. Well, I was right. They made him take it down.
Yeah. Here's the thing. We have come into an era of news media bias like it has never been before. A lot of the Republican / conservative issues are being shadow blocked. The only people like the Democratic Party, the liberalists, the Marxists, they are only being shown in a good light, not being shown the evils of these things. This is not good for the country, and it's not good for the news media.
No, that's right. That's absolutely right. Some of the tech giants, Google, Twitter and Facebook, maybe Google as well, are being called before Congress now.
Yep.
If it were me, I would just flat out subpoena them and say, you have no room for negotiation. My understanding is their attorneys are negotiating for their willful presence in front of Congress and lay out the groundwork for what they have demands for them to show up. I would say you can't demand anything. We are subpoenaing you, and we want to hear from you now.
Yep.
Now, you and I talked about this before we went to microphone here live right now. Mm-hmm. And one of the things that you said was a concern for changing the Section 230 status, which is the law that gives them legal protection, like a public forum would have. Now, the problem with having a public forum versus what Facebook is offering to us is the 230 status protects them from being sued.
Right.
But the thing with having an open society forum is people should be allowed to say what they want to say
without being blocked.
Now, if you say something that's criminally against somebody else or vulgar or defames them, they can come after you civilly.
Yeah.
And so that doesn't get you from the one that said that doesn't get you out of that, but it it shouldn't be censored.
Mm-mm.
Well, I think there's a way, and I'm with you. I don't know that changing laws, I think we have to be careful of that because you end up swinging the pendulum
Too far.
in the other direction.
Yes.
And I'm not saying that Section 230 can't be looked at because, it wasn't written at a time of the internet and Facebook and Twitter and all this stuff. But it's also hard to look 50 years down the road and see what society is going to look like, what tools we're going to be using then. But having said that, there is one direction that you can go with this, and I think would hit them hard. If you made the determination, if the courts made the determination and the federal government brought suit against Twitter, Facebook, and I believe directly the CEOs of each, and said what you are doing is considered a campaign contribution to the Democrat Party.
Yeah.
And the value for somebody to advertise and get the same effect would be millions of dollars.
Yeah.
Which means you have donated more than legally allowed.
Yeah.
And you're going to be fined, and if it's in the statutes,
Right.
criminally charge them.
Yeah.
That would put a stop to it post haste.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, it's not just Facebook and YouTube and Twitter. It's also news media, NBC, CBS, CNN, that are protecting people like George Soros, the Koch brothers, Bloomberg. And matter of fact, if you even mention them on a news on something like Facebook or something, you usually get blocked out. These people are being protected. For what? I have no idea, but it's kind of scary that they have leaned so far in one political direction and not the other. They're protecting one side and not the other. I mean, they're not open-minded.
And you're right. We have to be careful whenever we make any changes like this, that I don't think it would be right for us to make anything favor the conservatives. It just needs to simply be neutral.
Neutral, absolute neutral, right down the line. Because if there are negative conservatives, if there are negative Republicans, if there are criminal, they need to be prosecuted. I don't care what your political persuasion is. If you're a felon, you're a felon. If you're violating things, if you're holding secret negotiations with foreign dignitaries, you need to be prosecuted. And the fullest extent of the law.
And you bring up a great point, because if we go to if we take this story out to the entire broadest part of it, would be considered the swamp.
Yep. Drain the swamp.
There are plenty of Republicans involved in
Yes, yes. And go after both parties, not just one. And if there are any libertarians that are guilty of some of these felonies, they need to be brought to a trial. They need to be arrested, brought to a trial, be judged by 12, and whatever the jury hands down, that's it, whether guilt or innocence. That's how our system works. What were we talking about earlier? My brain just went zip.
You're relying on somebody my age to remember.
We were talking about what was happening in democratic cities and states, and I'm not talking about. I don't want to talk too negative about the Democratic Party, but it looks to me like in the democratic states where you have the riots and the looters and the arsons and all that stuff. The thing is that it's only happening in democratic locations, but it's not happening in Republican. And if they try to go into Republican areas and do this, they're meeting with hard resistance. What I believe, and this is my personal opinion, climb on my back, nobody else's. My opinion is that this is being deliberately done or allowed. When rioters are caught destroying property, they're brought to jail, and the mayors and the governors are having them released to go back out and do it again what they were doing before. I think they're trying to create an atmosphere for migration to get Democratic people to migrate into from blue states to red states, so that they could take their politics with them.
And turning a red state into a purple state.
Or exactly, or if possible, even a blue state.
Right.
This is what we're talking about when we talk about the news media, and when we're talking about secret plots and schemes in order to transform America into a communist nation.
That's pretty good. The one thing that I would add to that, and I want to cut this off pretty quickly, but so we'll keep it brief. But the one thing that if the lefties or the Democrats have had in their favor is the education system. They have pretty much owned the education system.
Yep.
Do you think that this step that Donald Trump did with the 1776 Commission will help with that? And question number 2, do you think that he'll take further steps when reelected to bring the education system back under control?
Yeah, well, he has. Let's flip the coin on the other side. Joe Biden has already stipulated that he wants the Muslim religion put in to all schools.
That's right. I forgot about that. Yeah.
And I'm saying, what? Now here's the thing. And I don't want to put it too much, but actually, the Christian and Jewish religion do not mix with Muslim religion. It doesn't. We're exact opposites. And what he's talking about is removing Christianity and Judaism from the education system completely and replacing it with Muslim and Sharia law, which is against the Constitution.
Yeah, that's right. But they want to change the Constitution anyways.
Yeah, they want to change the thing about it, when you look under the First Amendment, it does say, to keep separation of church and state, but they don't listen to the last sentence where it talks about you will not infringe upon. They forget about that. You cannot.
Well, that'll have to go with the next Constitution.
Oh yeah, and that's what's happening. That's why they want to go into communism, but they've never looked at the history of communism. They've never looked into Stalin or Khrushchev, or they've never looked into Mao and Chiang Kai-shek and Pol Pot. They haven't looked into these people and what they have committed. And Mao, millions, tens of millions of people murdered.
That's right.
In order to change history. And it all started exactly what's going on right now today. This is how communism starts. It's through violence.
Yeah, every time.
And changing history by tearing all these statues down and getting rid of all these flags. That is the first steps into communism.
And then immediately when they get into power, changing the laws so that you can't get them out of power.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Once you're into communism, you don't get out.
Without a revolution.
Why do you think that all of these people from Russia and China and Vietnam are trying to escape? Why do you think I've got friends of mine that were in Cuba, and they've told me their horror stories and why they escaped losing family in the oceans just to get here. It's that horrible.
I'm going to end on a lighter note.
Yes.
For those of you that made it this far, I hope you've watched our interview with Brooklyn.
Oh, yeah, that was good.
Did you get to see that?
I loved it.
Good. I thought you might recognize
she
that face.
Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego.
If you haven't had a chance to watch, Brooklyn is a young lady, 7 years old, that watches our videos for the most part, keeps an eye on them. So Shout out to Brooklyn, and I hope she watches and listens to this recording. And if you do, Brooklyn, we just give you a shout out.
Encourage you.
Yep. Anything else?
Yeah, I'm done. I'm
All
good.
right. Thank you for joining us. You can find us on prophecyviews.com, and God bless. We'll talk to you real soon.
Bye.